This is the ninth video in my series on using PHP with the Yahoo Finance API, and what we're going to talk about in this video is probably the most important of all of the videos so far. I'm going to show you the code which we're going to use to update our database with the fresh API data. We're going to do that from Monday to Friday, 10 minutes after the stock exchanges closes, and then after we've fetched all of that fresh data and we've stored it to our database, we're going to run our command to update the streaks. So we're going to use that data, and then we're going to update the winning streaks on the website, update the losing streaks. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. So in order to run something on a schedule, such as running a script, like I said, 10 minutes after each of the stock exchanges closes, we're going to need to use a cron to do that. I'm not going to go into Linux and show you how to do it on there. I think that would be better left to a separate video specifically tailored to cron jobs. But I'll just show you the basic syntax that I'm using. If you look down here, I have a custom cron running right here, and you'll see the cron takes 5 different arguments. The first one I have right here is 10. This is the minutes. So what I want to do is I want to run this at 4:10 p.m. from Monday to Friday. So I have 10 there for the minutes. And in the second one I have 4. This is actually 4 a.m. because my server is using Shanghai time. So 4 a.m. in Shanghai will be 4 p.m. in New York. So I just have 04 right there. If your server was on the Eastern Standard Time, you would put 16 here because it uses Army time. The third argument is a star. This means the cron is going to be run every day. But because I have 2 to 6 here as the last argument, that means this script is only going to be run from Tuesday to Saturday, which is going to be Monday to Friday on New York time. So it's only going to be run Monday to Friday over there. The third one, like I said, is the days. It's going every day. And then the fourth one, we have a star there because we want this to run every month. So the command that I'm going to run is going to be php space and then the absolute path to my artisan command. Because I'm using Laravel, I can use artisan to do this. However, you could just as easily have a bash script here or another PHP file. However, I'm using artisan, so I'm going to run this custom command that I've created, which is ss closing bell update. And this closing bell update is really interesting because it's a PHP file, but the way I've structured it is a little bit like a bash script. So from within this one artisan command right here, I'm actually calling 2 different artisan commands. And in the future, when I want to do more things on the schedule, I might have it call more artisan commands. So let's just go over quickly and take a look at that closing bell update command. So I have that code right here. So when that artisan command is run, Laravel is going to invoke this fire method right here. And what I'm doing from within the fire method is I'm actually calling 2 different artisan commands. And each time I run one of the commands, I'm sending myself an email to let me know whether that ran successfully or not. So the first one I'm doing is the store stock data command. What this is going to do is going to fetch the fresh stock data and then it's going to store it to the database. And then the second one I'm doing is I'm using that fresh data that I just stored and I'm updating the winning and losing streaks on the website. In order to send myself an email, it's really easy within Laravel. I just created this little helper function right here, notify admin, and I'm passing it an array of the data and also the subject for the email. So that just calls this method down here. And we just use Laravel's syntax for sending a mail send. This first argument is the view that we're going to use. The second one is the data that you want to pass into the view. So in this case, I'm sending through this data array right here, which just has one key feedback. And when this gets passed into the view, Laravel is going to run the extract function on this. And I'm going to be able to use that feedback from within my view just using $feedback. The third argument is a closure, and because I want to use this subject from within my closure, we need to use this use syntax here. I just want to mention something really quickly. If you're also using Laravel and you want to create these custom artisan commands, these fire methods actually return an integer, so they can return any kind of integer you want. And if you don't return anything from the fire method, it's going to return 0. And the same goes for the this call within my fire method, because this is also just calling the fire method within the other classes like update streaks. So what's happening behind the scenes here is we're actually calling a method from Symfony, and that method is located at symfony/component/console/command/command.php. And what happens at the bottom is we check the return value from the fire method. So if you return nothing within your fire method, what we're going to have down here is we're going to have null. So we're going to run is numeric on null. That's going to be false. So we're just going to return a 0. However, if you do want, you can return a number from this. Is numeric is going to be true, and then that's just going to get cast to an integer, and we're going to return that number. So you can use that to give yourself some feedback about what happened within your artisan command. And I'm going to use that feedback, and I'm going to put it into an email, and I'm going to email myself actually a 1 or a 0 each time this cron runs, so I know if it was successful or not. So if I go back into my closing bell update, this is the overall command that's going to be run when the cron is called. You'll see I'm just returning whatever I'm getting back from this call right here. I'm storing that in data feedback, and then that gets passed into my mail function. So I'm going to get a feedback of 1 or 0 whether this was successful or not. So if we go over quickly to the store stock data, you'll see what I've done here is I just have a simple try catch here right now. I'm grabbing all of the different symbols, we're looping over all of the different symbols, and we're going to store the new stock data. So what this method does, it makes the new API call. We grab the fresh data from Yahoo, and once this is finished, we've grabbed all of those and then we've stored them to the database. I return 1 here, so I know that this works successfully. And if there was any kind of error, I just catch that within here, and then the function finally returns 0. Like I said within Symfony's run command, if a null was returned, it's going to return a 0 anyways. So I could also just leave off this return 0, and that's finally going to evaluate to 0, but just to be a little bit more explicit, I'm just going to leave that and return a 0. If we take a look at the other command that was being run, update streaks, let's just go into my stock class here. So we have the update streaks function right here, and if I scroll down to the bottom here, what's happening within this method, we're updating all of the streaks with the new stock data. And if we go to the bottom here, if this script totally finished, we loop through all of those, we update all the streaks, the very last thing I'm just returning 1. So that gets returned to the artisan command, and then it gets emailed to me, and then I know that we've finished updating all of the streaks. So the main thing I want to show you in this video is the code that is going to be run at 4:10 p.m. every day, and it's going to download the new stock data. We're going to make the API request to Yahoo. We're going to fetch that fresh stock information, and we're going to store it to the database. So that's happening from this fire method here. We're just grabbing all the symbols and we're looping over all of them. And for each one, we're going to call this store stock data method. So if I go over to my stock class right here, you can see this method here. It takes the symbol. The first thing I'm doing is I'm fetching the stock data. We're passing that the symbol. This is going to make the API call. If we go over to the browser here, you'll see all of that information right here. Some of the main things we're interested here is this field right here, last trade with time. So within this field we have June 20 and then a dash, and then we have the closing price. And there's also a whole bunch of other data within here. We have the opening price, we have the volume, basically all of the information we need to update the database. If you look down here at the bottom at this insert method, you can see all of the information that I'm grabbing and I'm storing to the database. So some of the things we're storing in our summaries table here, obviously we're storing the date. So if the closing day was June 20, for example, we're going to have June 20 stored right here in the YMD format. We're going to have the symbol stored. We're going to store the opening price. We're going to store the last trading price, as well as the adjusted close price. We're going to store the low of the day and the high of the day and the trading volume. Now all of this different information could also be grabbed from the CSV files that we covered earlier. However, if you download the CSV files, you're downloading all of the stock history. It's going to take way too long to download it, and you're getting way more information than you need. So we just want to use the regular Yahoo API that we covered earlier in this series, and we just want to grab the data for the most recent date. So the first thing I want to talk about with regards to this response we got from Yahoo is this field here, last trade with time. So within this field we can see the date it was trading on, and we can see the closing price. Remember, we are going to run this cron at 4:10 p.m. every day, so the last trade with time should be the final closing price. So what we need to do is we need to parse this string. We need to extract out this JUN20, and we need to convert that to the YMD format, such as like 2010-01-01, and then we also want to grab out the closing price. So if we inspect this field just for a second here, you'll see that the closing price 41.68 is actually wrapped in bold tags. So the first thing that I needed to do was strip out that HTML. So what we're doing right here is we're running the strip tags function on quote last trade with time. So what that's just going to do is it's just going to remove those B tags from there. So what we're going to be left with after we run this strip tags function is just a string like you're seeing right here, June 20-4168. So the next thing we need to do is we need to explode that by the space dash space. So we run the explode function, first argument space dash space, and then pass it last trade. What this is going to do is it's going to return an array of 2 elements. So because this is returning an array of 2 different elements, we can store it to the list function, and then list we're passing last trade time and last trade price. So what we're going to have after this is we're going to be creating 2 new variables. Last trade time is just going to be storing that time, June 20, and last trade price is storing 41.68. However, we don't want to store the date in our database like JUN20. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass that June 20, pass it into string to time right here, and then the result of this is getting, well, we're going to get a timestamp back from this, and then we just do date YMD. The second argument is the timestamp, and then what we're going to be left with in last trade with time is the date just how we want it in the YMD format. The next thing I want to do is I want to see if I've stored this in the database already today. This could happen if I've already run this script once and it failed. So I don't want to store duplicate data in the database. So within my summaries table, I'm checking where the symbol is equal to that symbol and where the date is equal to that date, and I'm just returning the first row. If there was something here, then I'm not going to do anything more. But if there was nothing here, daily summary is going to be null, and then we're going to make that insertion into the database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of the code from this class, and I'm going to paste it into a gist. I'm going to put a link to that within the description of this video. So if you want to take a closer look at any of it, or you want to use it in your project, you can go ahead and do that. So I think that's going to wrap up everything for this series on using PHP with the Yahoo Finance API. If you have any questions about Laravel or using this API, just post in the comments and I'll be sure to get back to you.